Most people think of generosity as merely the giving of material benefits to others. More important, however, and much more satisfying is a generous spirit, a willingness to let the other person shine, even if it means being eclipsed oneself, a happiness in his good fortune, even if it means personal loss for oneself, a concern for his safety, even if, in an accident, one's own property has been destroyed. Generosity means, above all, recognizing that everything we have and are belongs to God alone and is His to dispose of where He will. And let's affirm together, I am happy in the good fortune of all.
I'm happy in the good fortune of all.
Even more than in my own.
Even more than in my own.
For in my happiness for them,
lies
inner freedom. I am happy in the good fortune of all. Even more than in my own. For in my happiness for them, lies inner freedom. And a little quieter, I am happy in the good fortune of all. Even more than in my own. For in my own happiness for them, lies inner freedom. And whispering, I am happy in the good fortune of all, even more than in my own. For in my happiness for them lies inner freedom. And silently, I am happy in the good fortune of all, even more than in my own. For in my happiness for them lies inner freedom. And please pray silently with me. All that I have and am is thine. Divine Mother, dispose of it as thou wilt. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Sunday Satsang. This is a reading from Whispers from Eternity. Demand for the realization of God's presence. O Divine Father, Thou art just behind my prayer. Why dost Thou seem so far away? Thou dost tremble in my feelings. Thy presence glimmers through the veil of my thoughts. Yet dost Thou seem so far away. Father, come, remove Thy veil. Come, Father, come. Hear the voice of my prayer. I want to know Thee, to talk to Thee, to hear Thee speak to me. I want to pray to Thee and know that Thou dost hear my prayer. Show me the way that leads to Thee. This morning we're going to listen to a short talk from Swami Kriyananda in honor of Guru Purnima, and the title is God Alone is Our Goal, and it's just about 12 minutes. So if you can't see the screen, it's okay, you can listen to the words. Or you can get up close and look if you want. But we don't have a large screen, that's okay. But it's a beautiful talk. This was given in 2008 on his birthday at the village. So.
Everyone become his disciples, she said, have you read the lessons? Well, most people, before they come, they write and become members and study lessons. Well, I hadn't even thought of that. Apparently he had this big organization. I didn't even think of that. I just thought he had this little seaside hermitage. And I was very upset with her. She said, you have to finish the lessons before you can join him. I think she was testing me, or Master was doing it through her. But I was very angry with her. And I was thinking, how many churches there are with these little biddies running? I didn't know it was Sister Ganamata. And I took the bus up to Hollywood. And I remember in the bus, I was thinking about my experience with her, and I was thinking, oh. And suddenly I remembered her eyes. They were very deep. I thought, uh-oh. She was much more than I thought. And I said, please forgive me. The moment I said that, please forgive me, I knew I was accepted. I don't know how I knew, but I did. And when I came to Master, well, you know the story, you've read it. But he accepted me that day. And all that he said, all that he did, I had to put those doubts that I had on a shelf. I couldn't doubt him, but I couldn't believe all that he wrote about. But I found in time that it did work. And the thing is that living with him, and I've been gassing on for so long that I could just go on for hours, but I obviously can't. You've got your lunch, much more important. But I have to say that this path has been absolutely wonderful. I don't regret a single moment of it. Have I suffered? Yes, I have suffered. And I suppose that I'm like everybody else in saying that I think it was worse than most people. But probably it was worse than many people because I'm a pretty stubborn fellow. And Divine Mother had to beat me pretty hard. But I have learned so much. And now when tests come, I say, thank you, Mother. Just like this whisper. I was able to edit this whisper and to tune into what Master said, because I had experienced that myself, and I know what it's like. Don't worry when suffering or bereavement or anything untoward comes to you, because you will see that this path is really, it's filled with joy. And the more you follow it, I remember when I went into that operation in Delhi last December, Pablo was reminding me, because one thing that's been very strange, you know, people my age, usually their voices become sort of croaking. Well, I don't know, you know, most people become a little that way. Instead, my voice has become deeper, more resonant, and I don't know what's happening. And I was laughing with them outside the operation room. I was already on my table there, and I was saying, none may linger on the way, none may coax time to stay. And then they wheeled me in, but I was feeling absolute bliss. And when I came out from under the operation, somehow I knew that something serious had been lifted from me. You know, Ananda Sangha, she got cancer of the liver. One time she was resting outside her ashram and by the Ganges, and she saw this black monkey jump out of her stomach and run and drown itself in the Ganges. These cancers are evil demons. And this thing, I felt it left me. And I felt so much bliss, and I feel bliss. And I want to share that bliss. And I know that I've done a lot of work for my Guru, and I hope he's pleased with that work. I hope he's pleased with all the books I've written and the music I've written and all that stuff, but I haven't done any of it. He did it through me, but not passively. We have worked together, and that's how I want you to work too. Don't be passive. God gave us our willpower and our individuality, that we use it for the good and for our good. But if there is one thing that will really, and that does really make me feel satisfied, is that if I can share that bliss. And what has pleased me more than anything else is so many letters that I've received from all of you saying that, yes, this is what you felt. I pray that it be more and more there. Because that's what life is all about. Everything else is just shadows and show. Might as well make it a good show while you're in it, But remember, it isn't yours. It belongs to Him. This is not your life, and nothing that you have done can you claim. And when you reach that state of Jivan Mukta, and can look back, even in one meditation, Master said, things can just vanish a whole incarnation. But don't think that there are just one or two incarnations. The Bhagavad Gita says that when I remanifest this universe in the day of Brahma, I throw all these souls out again, and they all go back to the same place they had before. And when this great thing ends in pralaya and everything merges back into God, you don't become God. You go back into a sort of seed state. What that state will be, I don't know. But it will not be oneness with God, because from that you come out again. And how many days of Brahma have you been coming out? That is a scary thought. A day of Brahma lasts billions of years. Time is nothing, but when you're going through it, it's something, isn't it? If a murderer is coming at you and creeping up the stairs toward your room, time passes very slowly. Time is very relative. But in the Rupa Kayam, and I do recommend that you read that book because it's thrilling. He was a great master also. But in there it says that many times we have to go through this thing until we understand, and God won't free you. You have to do that work. But when you do, and when you can free yourself by absolutely casting everything at His feet, and then reach that state of freedom in His consciousness, then you have to go back through all those billions, let's face it, billions of lives, where you've been everything, and in so many different ways. And the human mind has so many ways of catching you again. She was beautiful, oh, but look at her. Oh, how about that one? And that fortune was made that way, but oh, well, look at this business. And that home was nice, but oh, I'd love to have that one. And there's just an infinity of ways to get trapped. Please don't. Always, this is the one thing you must always remember, that it's all based on Dvaita. God was able to manifest this universe by creating Dvaita. The one consciousness of the unmoving spirit had to move to create the vibrations that created, manifested existence. And that up of the wave always has to be balanced by a down. So that every success has to be balanced by a failure. Every fulfillment has to be balanced by a disappointment and a disillusionment. Every up has to be balanced by a down. It all has to even itself out. A high wave will not change the level of the ocean. It will always be compensated for by a dip. And so it all has to add up to zero. Isn't it a horrifying reality that you have lived for billions of years and tried and struggled to attain something for billions of years, and the sum total of all those efforts has to end. It has no choice. It has to end in zero. Isn't that a dismaying thought? It's all for nothing. You can't make a better country, you can't make a better body, you can't make a better family, you can't make a better world. Yes, you should try, because we're in this show and we should act well as instruments for God. But He's created the show, He's the doer of it all. And finally, when you reach that state of realizing that none of those things mattered, God did it all, He was acting through all those lives, then you're able to see. And I said to Master, but can't you just say, I'm one with you and be free? And he said, yes, you can. But most saints don't, because they use that little tie to bring them back to help other people. But once they finally, just think of finally, after all that suffering, all those ups and downs, usually people don't attain that state from this planet, but some do. Most attain it from going to higher and higher stages, as it said in this poem in the Whispers. But sooner or later you will attain that state of complete freedom in God. You'll be a Param Mukta, or supremely free being, a Siddha. And after reaching that state, I remember Master said of Sister Ganamata, I saw her sink into that watchful state. She was completely free. She had to suffer. He held her in her body for all those 20 years of suffering, mainly for our sake. He was helping him to work out our karma. But at the end, she was completely free. And I said to him, because, the thought is that he's the last of the gurus, I said, and he had told me that before you reach that state, you have to have freed at least 6 others. And I thought, well, then how could she be free if she hasn't had disciples? And he caught my thought. He said she had disciples. And I've understood that he is the guru in the sense that Jesus Christ was the guru of Christianity. But there have been many saints in Christianity who have been teachers to their individual disciples. But he is the particular power, the particular blessing. Krishna, many Hindus think of Krishna as their guru, but he's their guru through somebody living, somebody who is able to give them that touch. And so we must try to reach that point where Master can use us more and more. And in that process we become more enlightened. Don't think you want to hog the whole cheese to yourself. Share it with others. Whatever inspiration you feel, share with others. But once you reach that state of complete freedom in Him, Satchidananda, ever existing, ever conscious, and as Master added the phrase, ever new joy. People ask the question, why did God create this universe? Tirkteshwar answered, leave a few questions to be answered in the infinite. But I have an answer to that too. It is the nature of bliss to want to renew itself. It is the nature of bliss to want to express itself. And I think this too is true. And so God's own nature caused Him to bring it out, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. But once you're in that state, you're everything, you're everyone. As I said to Anandamayi Ma once, we would love to have you come to America. She said, I'm there already. You're already there, you don't need anything. Very, very few leave that state to come back and help struggling humanity. Ramakrishna told this parable of 3 men who left their village. And they came to their surprise upon a high wall. And they thought, well, I've never seen this wall here. I wonder what's behind it. And they said, well, let's work together and we'll get one person up and then he can come back and tell us what it's like. And so one of them climbed on the shoulder of the other and the other one got on his shoulder and reached the top of the wall and stood on it. And he looked down on the other side and he clapped his hands joyfully, jumped down on the other side. And they waited and waited. And he didn't come back. And they said, well, what's over there? We've got to see. So they figured out a way that one man stood on a tree stump and the other one climbed up on his shoulders and he was able to get to the top of the wall. And he looked down, he said, oh, wonderful. And he jumped down. The other one waited, and he didn't come back. He said, well, I've got to see what's over there. So he found a tree that was lying on the ground and he managed to pick it up and leaned it against the wall and clamber up the wall with a great deal of effort and get to the top. And he saw the most beautiful garden he'd ever seen in his life. And he thought, oh, I could just forget that dusty, dirty village and live there for all my life and just feel wonderful. And he was just about to do it when he thought, but what about all those villagers there? They don't know about this place. So he jumped back and went to tell all of them about it. This is what the avatars are. It's not Rama, Vishnu, and Shiva. It's not Rama and Krishna. The avatar is a free soul who decides, out of his longing to help people, to come back and help others. And this is what I see in this wonderful book, Whispers from Eternity. Master's longing to help people. As he said in God's boatman, I will come back if need be 1 trillion times, so long as one stray brother is left weeping by the wayside. We have such a wonderful thing in Him. Yes, all saints are equal. I don't want to make comparisons, but how grateful I am to Him that He did come back. And they met us on such a human level. And yet always in his presence I felt that I was in the presence of God himself. I would look into his eyes and I would see no ego motive there. And if he had to scold me, I would see nothing but sadness that he had to scold me. But he was doing it for my welfare. But always, I remember this story, and I've told it in the past, how one time he was scolding one of the nuns, and Jean-Op, one of the monks, was sitting in the room at the opposite end, and Master would turn fiercely to this woman, shout at her. He'd turn back and see Jean sort of wink, then turn back and but he was trying to shake her. One time there was a woman who was, every time he saw her, he'd scold her, and she'd get very angry and upset. Finally, she realized that, well, if this is the way things are, I might as well take it. And he stopped in the middle of his scolding. He said, I see you're learning. I was trying to make you more docile. So he never scolded her again. God loves you. But if he scolds you, and he will, and he does, don't blame him. Don't feel, why me? Be grateful, God. I don't want any of this. So beat me as much as you want. I have thought that I feel sometimes a great fatigue in my chest. And I could easily, I think, die from a heart attack. But I think it would be a useless way to die. I'd much rather die a martyr. I would much rather have these popes and Catholics crucify me. I would be happy to have my death itself be useful. Because nothing of this life matters. He alone is our goal. Please keep that firmly in mind, because nothing else will satisfy you. Oh yes, again and again you get on this boat, you paddle toward its shore, and you think, uh-oh, there's a nice island, uh-oh, here's a nice person. It doesn't work, it won't work, it can't work. Only God will work in the end. And if I've learned anything from this struggling life of mine, it is that. I bless you all. Thank you for coming.
Well, it's a joy to see everybody this morning, and I wanted to just have a reading from, this is from the New Path, and it's called A Divine Test. This is written by Swami Kriyananda. I recommend this book. I don't know how many of you have read this book, but we used to recommend it to all of our students and then ask at the end when they were all taking Kriya, how many have read this book? Not too many hands, but I assure you that this book is it's an anthology of spiritual lesson. It's so beautiful. So I would encourage you to read this, and I wanted to read just 2 pages from it. This is called A Divine Test. In a vision when he was a boy, Paramahansa Yogananda saw himself standing in the marketplace of a small town in the Himalayan foothills. The day was hot, and the marketplace dusty and crowded with dirty stalls, harassed shoppers, and whining beggars. Dogs ran everywhere. Monkeys stole down from rooftops to snatch at food in the stalls. Donkeys brayed complainingly. People laden with purchases bustled to and fro, brows furrowed with anxiety and desire. No one seemed happy. Now and again, however, someone in that milling crowd paused before the entranced boy and gazed high into the distance behind him. Into the gazer's eyes there came a look of intense wistfulness. Then, after a few moments, he would turn away with a weary sigh and explain, "Oh, but it's much too high for me." Lowering his gaze, he turned to the hot and dusty marketplace. After this sequence had repeated itself several times, Yogananda turned to see what it was that had held so much appeal for those people. And there, rising high above him, he beheld a lofty mountain, verdant, serene, beautiful. An absolute contrast it was to everything in this hubbub of noise and confusion. On the mountaintop there was a large, exquisitely lovely garden, its lawns green, gold, its flowers many-hued. The boy yearned to climb the mountain and enter that earthly paradise. Reflecting then on the difficulty of the climb, he thought, as had the others, but it's much too high for me. Weighing his words then, He rejected them soundly, scornfully. It may be too high to ascend with a single leap, but at least I can put one foot in front of the other. Even to fail in the attempt would, he decided, be infinitely preferable to existence in this showcase of human misery. Step by step, determinedly, he set out. At last he reached and entered the heavenly garden. For Master, this vision symbolized a predicament common to every person with high aspirations. Indeed, I wonder whether all men do not fret, at least sometimes, at the restrictions the human body places on them with its constant demands for sustenance, rest, and protection. Man longs instinctively for a life freed from competition and worry, freed from hatred and violence, freed from the need for constant care. Few people, alas, even suspect that such a state exists and can be found. Of those, moreover, who do harbor such hopes, must most turn away with a sigh, saying, "But it's much too high for me." How very, very few take up the path in earnest. Out of 1,000, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, one seeks me. Yet the path is not really so difficult for those who will but take it one step at a time. As Jesus put it, sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. And as Paramahansa Yogananda often said, a quote I have mentioned earlier in this book, a saint is a sinner who never gave up. And during this Guru Purnima, we honor the Gurus, we love the Gurus, we're grateful to the Gurus, we ask for the Gurus' blessings, we pray to the Gurus, we make pilgrimage to the Gurus, our meditations are in honor of the Guru. And we're praying and praying and praying, wilt thou come, wilt thou come. But deep in our heart, there's this little voice that says, when will you come? Will you come to me? How can you change my life? Am I worthy? There's a little still voice inside of us that tells our soul, no, you can't even conceive of what it would be like to attract the Guru. You're just not there. Life is too hard. You have too much bad karma. So we have all these little voices. But there is a voice deeper than that voice of the ego that sings from our soul in the silence of our deepest meditation. And those words, that thought that wants to manifest, is not, when will you come? When will you come? It is, I love you, Guru. I love you, God. I love you. It's coming from your soul to God. And in that love, you are connecting with the divine. In the love that you are offering from your very soul, from yourself, from every thought, word, and action that you have, you are offering your love to God. Then God will come to you. We wait for everything to come to us, but all God wants is our love. That's all He's ever wanted. Because in that love, we realize who we really are. We are part of God. We are not separate from God. We're there already. And we need to manifest that in our lives. We need to be instruments for that love. And when we are truly, selflessly loving God in every circumstance of our life, in every person that comes into our life, in everything we do, then we will know God, because He will manifest Himself in our heart, and our bliss will expand. Like Swami said in that talk, the nature of God, He's bliss. And the nature of bliss is to expand. And how does that expand? It expands in the hearts of man. It expands in our hearts. And since He's given us everything, it's our duty and our responsibility and our job to give all of ourselves to our life, to what is there in front of us. We don't have to manufacture a great thing. We don't have to worry about the competition. We don't have to think about who's higher, who's lower. What we have to do is experience the love in our hearts for God and share that love. Then we will know that we are one with God, not before. So during this Guru Purnima, think of that. Think of what you can do to share this vibration. Don't go home and just go back to your lives and think, okay, well, I'll come next Sunday and I'll think about it. Or I'll come next month, or however many times, or whatever. Think in terms of what a gift your life is, that God has given everything to you from His love, from His bliss, knowing that all He wants is for you to come home. So would He have given you something that wasn't right for you? Would the Guru ask you to do something that isn't going to expand your heart and help you to find God? No. The Guru gives you everything, good and bad. We only like the good. We only like the blessings. It's all a blessing. It's all a blessing. Don't reject your lives and resist this and resist that. Enter into it with the love of God and say, thank you. This is a momentous life that we have, that we recognize, and we're sitting at the feet of the Guru, and we are conscious and aware that he is giving us his love. It's a very, very special incarnation. Don't waste it. Swami was saying, don't waste this incarnation. Also, give God your love by giving it to the people in your life. You know, I've been reading the story of Durga Ma, who was one of Master's very high disciples. She was free in this lifetime. Beautiful book. It's called the Divine Trilogy. She was taking care of Rajasi all of her life, just humbly serving him. And towards the end of his life, she took care of him when he got a brain tumor, and she was there when he died, all the way to the end. Master asked her to do this. Master asked her to do this service. She never questioned it. She may have wanted to do something else. It was very mundane work, cleaning and doing the dishes and cooking and making travel arrangements. No, it could have been, it's just very mundane work. She said yes to her guru because she loved her guru. Master had a samadhi in 1951 before he left his body. Many, many, many days of being in samadhi. And at the end of that samadhi, Durga Ma was there during that time. He was sitting in a chair and he was just coming out of his samadhi. And Durga was there with him. And he said, Dooj, he called her Dooj, that was her nickname, Dooj, do you love me? And she ran to his feet and tears streamed from her eyes. She held on and she said, I love you, Master. I love you, Master. Have no doubt, I love you, Master. And isn't it a beautiful thing that at the end of his samadhi, he didn't make predictions and this is what's going to happen in the world. All he cared about is if his humble disciple loved him. Because in that love that she had for the Guru, she was loving God. She saw her Guru as a manifestation of God. Yes, Master, I love you. That's all I want. That's all we should have. We should take our lives deeper. We should be deeper in our spiritual lives. We should meditate with love, with bliss, with joy. Don't waste time. Don't just sit there and say, come to me, come to me. Hangsa, 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 kriya, kriya, kriya. Okay, bye. It's not going to work. What we have to do is open our heart to the Guru and say, I give you everything. I give you this moment. I give you these thoughts. I give you my worries. I give you my anxiety. I give you all of it, and my happiness and my joy and my successes and my failures and my mess-ups. I give it all to you. I give it to you, Master. And when you do, when you pray like that, then you're giving it to God, and God can come to you because there are no barriers. You are not resisting God's love. We resist God's love. We want it a certain way. We want our way. We want our egos to be in charge. I want this, I want that, I need this, I need that. Forget that. All we want to do is what God wants, because in that moment when we decide to 100% give our lives to God and love Him and love God, in that moment, then He will come to us and we will understand we have never been separate from God. We must share these teachings. Master said it. Master said it in the talk. He said, you just, like that man ready to jump over the wall. But no, he came back because of the rest of us. And that's what Master did. He came back because of the rest of us. That's what all the great souls do. Nandamoy Ma, Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, all these great gurus, they came back because they love us, but mostly because they love God. To the extent that we keep them at a distance, we're keeping God at a distance. We cannot waste our lives. In this moment, right where God has put us, this is where we will find Him. We don't have to go away. We don't have to go anywhere. They just did a beautiful pilgrimage. I'm not saying don't go on pilgrimage. At Lahiri Mahashaya's, one day a year they opened the door, and thousands of people went in and they got the blessings of Lahiri Mahashaya on Guru Purnima Day. It was really quite beautiful. And you go in, but then you take the blessing, the door closes, for a whole year it's shut. What's left? You got your blessing. What are you going to do with the blessing? Are you going to share it? Are you going to give it wholeheartedly? Are you going to love the people in your life? Are you going to forgive those that hurt you? Are you going to take these teachings of Lahiri Mahashaya and make them real? Are you just going to wait for next year when the door opens and you walk through and you take the blessings and the door closes? Don't wait. That blessing will take you all the way to self-realization and freedom if you act on it, if you share that in this world. Master needs instruments. He definitely needs us. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. What you have to give is your special gift. Don't compare yourself. I mean, I could compare myself to Ramakrishna. There's no comparison. It's pretty discouraging. It's like looking up at the mountain saying, no way am I ever going to get there. But we've got to take the first step. We've got to take those steps toward our own self-realization and be happy in the moment with what we have been given. When we're happy in the moment, we have God. Be happy, be joyful, be blissful, be loving. That is our job in this world. And at the end of our life, then we'll be like Sister Gyanamata. We'll be free of all the karma because the Master will take the karma. If we have lived our lives courageously and honestly as disciples of Divine Mother, as her children, we need to do that. It's almost urgent, you know. It's like the world is falling apart, but we're not falling apart. We have so much spiritual help. Use that help. And use this time on this planet as just a wonderful, precious moment where you can feel the love of God in your own heart, and then you share that love any way you can. He will tell you how to do it, but just listen, and He will guide you. We have one another, and we have the gurus, and we have Kriya. We have Divine Mother, who has always been there. Remember what she said to Master when she appeared to Master in Calcutta? Always have I loved you, ever shall I love you. So God bless you all on this Guru Purnima. And may the Gurus fill our hearts with their love and lead us home to Divine Mother in this very lifetime.